Two women are on a road trip. It's 1975. They have a little car and a lot of freedom. They decide to take a back road through the hills of Pennsylvania. They're driving along and they start to see signs that there was recently a flood in this place. There were fields that looked sort of waterlogged. There were trees that were at an unnatural angle. They kept going thinking, my, what a big flood there must have been in this place. They come to the river and they see sandbags stacked up and they think, oh, what a flood it must have been to require this level of preparation. They marvel at what this place has endured, and then they turn a corner and see a wall of water coming their way and realize the flood was not in the past, the flood was now. The signs that they had interpreted as a scary thing that had happened were actually the signs that they were in the midst of something fearful and overwhelming. They turned around and water was coming from the other direction. They jumped out of their cars, scrambled up a hill, soaking wet, and watched as the flood waters that they had thought a thing of the past rose. That is a story that the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, former president of Starr King School for the Ministry, tells in an essay called Not Somewhere Else But Here. She tells this story to explain how it is that we can live in the world with all the signs and misinterpret them radically. She tells this story as an example of what it is to be white in America, to not be able to interpret your own country correctly, to see the world as you want it to be, rather than the world as it actually is. In this essay, she quotes the author James Baldwin from The Fire Next Time, saying, "This is the crime of which I accuse my countrymen, that I and history will not forgive them for, that they destroy hundreds and thousands of lives, and they do not know, and they do not want to know. They want to see the world with the problem in the past. They want to see a world that is safe, and they allow themselves to do so." This is what Ta-Nehisi Coates refers to as the dreamers, dreaming an American dream so that they cannot wake up and see what is around them. This is what we meant when we said to be woke before that word was utterly destroyed by folks intentionally missing the point. Stay awake. Pay attention to the world as it is, not the world as you want it to be, or even the world as you experience it. The world that your privilege, wherever that privilege may lie, allows you to construct. Pay attention to the world as it is, not as you choose to see it, not as you have been lucky enough to experience it. And into this advice, it feels not just right, but righteous to obsessively pay attention to the world as it is. Into this world, doom scrolling seems like an act of justice. We will be informed. Did anyone else spend Election Day staring at that little New York Times needle, like as though you could personally will it into change? I wake up in the mornings, and before I put on my glasses, I grab my phone to see what terrible thing is happening now. And this feels important and right and righteous to know what is going on in our world, to pay close attention, so that I will not be one of those people anesthetized by our stained glass windows. Dr. King speaks of that in a different part of that letter, of folks who go to church and somehow focus in instead of out. And with that in mind, it feels right and it feels righteous to pay as much attention as possible. And I wonder if sometimes we mistake step one for the whole process. If we mistake paying attention to being present, to doing something. And not only do we mistake step one for the whole process, but sometimes step one starts to feel like the whole process. That when we are paying attention and reading the New York Times and listening to the radio and seeing all that is wrong with the world, sometimes all the energy that we have goes to that. It feels like we did something, or it certainly feels miserable, and I assume that feeling miserable often feels like doing something. And then I have to ask myself on any given day, you know on your phone where it will tell you your screen time, otherwise known as the shame count? What if my phone could say, you spent this many minutes being outraged about what Congress is doing, and this many minutes calling your congressperson? You spent this many minutes raging about people protesting drag story hours, and this many minutes actually planning a drag story hour. You spent this many minutes staring at polls, and this many minutes door knocking and phone calling and donating. I would not come out looking good in that comparison. But I am awfully well informed. If information was enough to change the world, Unitarian Universalists would have done it by now. We are a well-informed, well-intentioned people who do good things. And there is more to be done. Tomorrow is the inauguration. We'll leave our feelings about that for another hour. There are going to be moments where it is our job to stay informed. And then. And I don't know what that and then looks like for each of us. The Social Justice Committee is going to be coming to us at our congregational meeting to talk about the ways we can be involved or potentially involved in the sanctuary movement, and maybe that is our work to do. Some of us have been conspiring about how to build a youth group that serves the queer, non-binary, and LGBT, and just all of the kids who feel like maybe they don't fit in, and maybe that's your work. Maybe it's volunteering at a soup bank, maybe it is protesting. I don't know what each of our work is, but I know it's calling to us, saying, put down your phone. Pick up your sign. Pick up your checkbook. Show up. We need something more than information. And if you're already doing amazing work, here's your work to do. Every Sunday, invite one of us to come with you. Every Sunday, invite one of us into the work you are doing. When I say on Sundays, go out and make trouble and come back and tell us all about it, that is our work to do. We have stained glass windows, and we have a choice. We could be anesthetized, Or we could think of them like a shot of adrenaline on Sunday mornings, kicking our butts out the door. There's going to be time, there's going to be need. The question is, what are we going to do about it? May it be so, hopefully. Amen.